I just want to share with you this whole process of moving from addition to multiplication. Addition of disciples versus multiplication of disciples. What is the difference? Well, in addition, we have, say, one group, and then we add disciples here that will become one larger group. Okay, so the same group is increased. So we add the disciples to the same group. Whereas in multiplication, each group reproduces itself. So in the first place, one group reproduces to two, and each of these will reproduce to two others. So there is a reproduction of the group. The group size remains about constant, about 4 to 6 people at most, but it reproduces that. So this is multiplication. Now, I took the DMM course sometime in September 2021, and I completed this disciple making movement course in November 2021. And after having completed it, I actually put into action or into practice what I had learned. And amazingly, I was able to start several groups within the first 3 months. And that really excited me. And the way I went about it was, when I meet a believer, I ask them this question. Tell me, who are you discipling today? Now, the basis for this question is because Jesus said, go and make disciples. Yes. So who are you discipling today? And the answer is usually no one actually. So then I said, let me show you how. Then the next question I asked them is, who did you share the gospel with in the last 6 months? Usually the answer is no one. And I tell them, let me show you how. And so that's how we started forming these groups and getting these groups to multiply. I wanted to see multiplication. I was effective in sharing the gospel and making disciples, but I couldn't get them to multiply. And I didn't know exactly how to do it until I came across the DMM course. The Disciple Making Movement course had a great impact on my learning and practice. Firstly, it infused in me faith for big dreams. It just stirred faith in me for multiplication of disciples. Secondly, it helped me to craft an end vision. The end vision is so important because it keeps me focused and keeps me on track. And interestingly, it fires up my enthusiasm. My end vision is to see a DMM group in every town and city and village of this nation. Now that really excites me. Thirdly, the DMM course taught me a process of how I could incorporate evangelism, disciple making, and multiplication all in one place simultaneously. We treat these three different things, evangelism, disciple making, and multiplication, separately. But it taught me how we could actually handle all these three in the same place. And it helped me, fourthly, it helped me to make key mind shifts for multiplication to be successful and sustaining. And one outstanding key is this: seeing everyone as a potential multiplier of disciples. We don't just see the believer as, I'm making a disciple. No, to see that he himself or she herself can be a multiplier of disciples. Three other things which are crucial to see multiplication happening. The first is prayer. Much prayer and constant prayer for the disciple makers. We need to pray for our people. The second is ongoing coaching. That seemed instrumental to keep the group on the multiplicative track. I received much coaching from the DMM leadership team, and that really was great benefit to me. And third, commissioning them. It is so important to send them out to start new groups, not just train them and then leave them like that. No, actually to commission them and send them out. For instance, 2 of the 3 people I had commissioned a month ago have already started a group since last week. And the result of it all is that I have started 26 groups to date. And some of them have gone into 2nd and 3rd generation. This also includes new believers and new baptisms. The only reason I'm saying this is because that to tell you that this can be done and it can happen even in with you. So how do we make disciples who can make disciples? Well, number one, structure. Structure is important. Use small groups. Sometimes we get carried away. The larger the group, the better. No, use small groups and the multiplication of these small groups. And each group should not be more than 6 people. So average about 5 persons. The second thing is use the 3-part disciple makers meeting chart. And this is what I mentioned where evangelism, disciple making, and multiplication all happen simultaneously. It is this disciple makers meeting chart is the one that does it. Just a brief introduction to that. It is divided into 3 divisions: look back, look up, and look forward. And if you look down and look back under friendly accountability, it is based on obedience. How did you apply the last lesson? Then the second question is, who did you share what you learned from the last lesson? So not only we apply, we need to share that thing that we learned from the last lesson. And thirdly, did you share your testimony, your personal testimony, or the gospel with anyone? And of course, the middle division, middle column there tells you about the Bible passage where we read, retell, and repeat the story. Now, we do that so that we can tell that story to someone else at the same time to answer the discussion questions. And the discussion questions here, number 1, what do you like in this lesson? Or what stood out for you in this story? Number 2, what does it say about God? Number 3, what does it say about men or people? And then the last column, we see praying and setting goals. And what do I need to obey, or what do I need to change from this lesson that I have learned? Number 2, who will I share what I've learned in this lesson? So you decide here, right at this time, who you're going to share in the week to come. And of course, thirdly, who will I share my personal testimony or the gospel with? So you see all the 3 things happening here together: evangelism, disciple making, as well as multiplication. I find this very exciting. All right, let's get into exactly how are we going to make this multiplication work. Well, number 1, coach everyone to share their personal testimony, a 3-minute testimony. Now, why do I say coach? That means you need to coach them or until they get it. You not just teach them and then move away. No, you actually coach them until they are able to share their personal testimony within 3 minutes. And number 2 is to coach everyone to share the gospel message, EPE, or the 5 points of the gospel: grace, man, God, Christ, faith. Then coach everyone on being a disciple. And this one, we follow the material in New Life in Christ. Then coach everyone to be a disciple maker. And number 5, coach everyone to be a multiplier of disciple makers. There you have it. How do we make disciples who can make disciples? The structure, the 3-part disciple makers meeting chart, and the coaching process. DMM is actually the multiplication of reproducible disciples. The disciple making movement is a multiplication of reproducible disciples. I pray that you will take on this and see multiplication of disciples in your own place and wherever you go. God bless you.